You're 35 years old. You've got a job, you're paying your bills, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you should be thinking about retirement.
But retirement feels like it's 30 years away. So you've got a 401k that your company set up. You're putting in maybe 3% of your paycheck because that's what they auto-enrolled you at. And you've got about $18,000 saved up.
And you think, you know what? I'm doing okay. I'm saving something. That's better than nothing. Here's the thing. You're not doing okay. At your current savings rate, by the time you're 65, you'll have maybe $180,000 in that account.
And here's the part that should terrify you. You're going to need about $1.2 million to maintain anything close to your current lifestyle in retirement.
You're not behind by a little bit. You're behind by over $1 million. And you're not alone. Half of all Americans have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. We're staring down an $8 trillion retirement savings gap, and almost nobody is talking about it. My name is Jojo, and I spend way too much time thinking about how an entire generation is sleepwalking into a retirement crisis that's going to make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor inconvenience. My name is Jojo, and I spend way too much time thinking about how an entire generation is sleepwalking into a retirement crisis that's going to make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor inconvenience. If you're someone who's ever looked at your retirement account and thought, I should probably be saving more, but I don't know how much or where to even start, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just doom and gloom. Yeah, the numbers are terrifying, but once you understand how we got here and what the actual problem is, you can fix it. Most people are following advice that was designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore, and that's why they're failing. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64, people who are about to retire, is $120,000. The median, that means half have less than that. Now, financial planners generally recommend the 4% rule. You can safely withdraw about 4% of your retirement savings per year without running out of money. So if you've got $120,000 saved, that's $4,800 per year. That's $400 per month. Social Security will give the average retiree about $1,900 per month. So combined, you're looking at about $2,300 per month to live on in retirement. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the U.S. is about $1,700 per month. You see the problem? After rent, you've got $600 left for food, healthcare, utilities, transportation, everything else. And that's the median. Half of people have even less than that. The Employee Benefit Research Institute estimates that Americans are facing an $8.5 trillion retirement savings shortfall. Trillion with a T. That's the gap between what people have saved and what they'll actually need. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's because people aren't saving enough. They need to just save more. And yeah, that's technically true. But here's what most people don't realize. The entire retirement system in America was redesigned in the 1970s and 80s based on assumptions that are no longer true. And most people are still following the advice that came out of that redesign, which is why they're failing. Look, let me take you back to 1980. If you worked for a big company, Ford, IBM, AT&T, whatever, you got a pension. A pension meant that after you worked there for 30 years, the company would pay you a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. You didn't have to manage investments. You didn't have to figure out asset allocation. You just showed up, did your job, and the company took care of your retirement. About 60% of private sector workers had a pension in 1980. Today, about 12%. What happened? In 1978, Congress passed a law adding Section 401k to the tax code. It was supposed to be a small tax break for executives who wanted to save extra money on top of their pensions. That's it, a supplementary savings vehicle. But companies looked at this and realized, wait, we're spending millions managing these pension funds and guaranteeing retirement income to workers. What if we just
didn't. What if we set up these 401k accounts, throw in a small match, and make retirement the employee's problem? And that's exactly what happened. Over the next 30 years, companies systematically eliminated pensions and replaced them with 401ks.
They shifted all the risk, investment risk, longevity risk, inflation risk, from the company onto you, the worker.
And here's the really insidious part. They framed it as empowerment. You're in control of your retirement. You can choose your investments. You're not locked into some stodgy pension. But most people aren't financial experts. Most people don't know how to build a diversified portfolio, calculate withdrawal rates, or manage sequence of returns risk. So what actually happened is that companies saved billions by eliminating guaranteed retirement benefits, and workers got stuck with a system that requires expertise most of them don't have. Here's the thing about 401ks that people don't understand. They were designed to supplement pensions, not replace them. The architect of the 401k, a benefits consultant named Ted Benna, has publicly said that the 401k has become a monster that was never meant to be the primary retirement vehicle for Americans. He's literally said that if he could do it over, he would blow up the whole system. Why? Because 401ks only work if you do everything right. You have to start saving early. You have to contribute enough. Most experts say 15 to 20% of your income. You have to choose the right investments. You have to rebalance regularly. You have to avoid withdrawing money early. You have to manage it properly in retirement. How many people are doing all of that? Almost nobody. The average 401k contribution rate is about 7% of salary. That's less than half of what you actually need. And that's just the people who are contributing. About a third of workers who have access to a 401k don't contribute anything at all. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even if you do everything right, you're still dealing with problems that pensions didn't have. Investment risk. With a pension, the company takes on the investment risk. If the market crashes right before you retire, that's the company's problem, not yours. With a 401k, if the market crashes the year you retire, you're screwed. You're retiring into a down market and withdrawing from a shrinking portfolio. That's called sequence of returns risk, and it can destroy your retirement even if you saved diligently for 40 years. Longevity risk. Pensions paid you for life. If you lived to 95, you got paid until 95. With a 401k, you have to guess how long you're going to live and spread your money accordingly. Guess wrong, and you either die with money left over, meaning you deprived yourself unnecessarily, or you run out of money while you're still alive. Fee erosion. The average 401k charges about 1% in fees annually. That sounds small, but over 40 years, a 1% annual fee can reduce your final balance by 25–30%. You could be losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to fees you didn't even know you were paying. Pensions didn't have these problems. You just got a check every month until you died. Let me show you why the traditional retirement advice doesn't work in 2024. The old advice was, save 10% of your income, get the company match, invest in a target date fund, and you'll be fine. Let's run the numbers. Let's say you're 25 years old, you make $50,000 a year, and you save 10%, $5,000 per year. Your company matches 3%, another $1,500. So you're putting $6,500 per year into your 401k. Assuming 7% average annual returns, which is optimistic given current market valuations and the fact that the last 40 years had historically high returns that are unlikely to repeat, by the time you're 65, you'll have about $1.4 million. That sounds great, right? But wait, inflation. If inflation averages 3% per year over 40 years, that $1.4 million in future dollars is worth about $430,000 in today's dollars. Using the 4% rule, that gives you about $17,000 per year to live on. Plus Social Security, which, if it still exists in its current form, which is a big if, might give you another $25,000 per year.
So you're living on $42,000 per year in retirement after making $50,000 per year while working. That's a 16% pay cut, and that's if everything goes perfectly. No market crashes, no periods of unemployment, no early withdrawals, no investment mistakes.
And here's the really depressing part. Most people aren't even saving 10%. The median is closer to 7%. Run those same numbers at 7% contribution, and you're looking at about $30,000 per year in retirement. That's a 40% pay cut.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I'll just work longer. This is the fallback plan for so many people. I'm not saving enough now, but I'll just work until I'm 70 instead of 65. Here's the thing. You probably can't. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, about 40% of retirees leave the workforce earlier than planned. And it's not because they decided to treat themselves to early retirement. It's because of
Health problems, their own or a spouse, job loss, age discrimination is real, even if it's illegal. Caregiving responsibilities, aging parents, grandchildren, burnout. You can plan to work until 70, but life might have other ideas. And if you're forced to retire at 62 with half the savings you needed, you're in serious trouble.
Also, working longer only helps if you're actually saving during those extra years. If you're still living paycheck to paycheck at 68, working until 70 doesn't solve your problem.
Look, here's what really frustrates me about this whole situation. We're blaming individuals for a systemic failure.
People just need to save more. People need to be more disciplined. People need to make better choices. But the system is designed to make it hard to save. Present bias, humans are psychologically wired to prioritize immediate needs over future ones. Spending $5 on coffee today feels more real than saving $5 for a retirement 40 years from now. That's not a character flaw. That's human nature. Analysis paralysis. 401ks offer you 20, 30, sometimes 50 different investment options. Most people have no idea what the difference is between a large cap growth fund and a small cap value fund. So they either pick something at random, pick the default option, or freeze and don't pick anything at all. Auto-enrollment at low rates. Companies auto-enroll you at 3% contribution rates because they know if they went higher, fewer people would participate. But 3% isn't enough. So you're enrolled in the system, you think you're saving for retirement, but you're actually set up to fail from day one. Lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a raise, your expenses expand to fill the new income.
You tell yourself you'll increase your 401k contribution next year, but next year you've got a bigger apartment, a car payment, and somehow you still feel broke despite making more money.
The system knows all of this and exploits it. And we haven't even talked about Social Security yet. Right now, Social Security is projected to only be able to pay about 77% of scheduled benefits starting in 2033. That's 9 years from now. What does that mean? If you're supposed to get $2,000 per month from Social Security, you might only get $1,540. That's a $460 per month cut, or $5,520 per year. Now, Congress will probably fix this before 2033. They always do. But the fix is going to involve some combination of raising the retirement age, raising payroll taxes, reducing benefits for higher earners, means testing benefits. Whatever they do, it's probably going to mean you get less than you're currently expecting.
And if you're under 40, I wouldn't count on Social Security being particularly generous by the time you retire. It'll probably exist in some form, but planning your retirement around it is risky. All right, so we've established that the system is broken and the traditional advice doesn't work. What do you actually do?
First, figure out your number. Most people have no idea how much they actually need to save. They're just throwing money into a 401k and hoping it works out. Here's a simple formula. Take your desired annual retirement income and multiply it by 25. That's roughly how much you need saved. Want to live on $60,000 per year in retirement? You need $1.5 million saved. Want $80,000 per year? You need $2 million. This is based on the 4% rule. You can safely withdraw about 4% of your portfolio per year, which is 1/25th of the total.
Now, subtract whatever you expect from Social Security. If Social Security will give you $25,000 per year and you want $60,000 total, you need your portfolio to provide $35,000 per year, which means you need $875,000 saved.
That's your target.
Second, work backward to figure out how much you need to save. Once you know your target, you can calculate how much you need to save each month to get there.
There are retirement calculators online that'll do this for you. Plug in your current age, your retirement age, your current savings, your expected return, and your target amount. It'll tell you how much you need to contribute monthly.
For most people, this number is terrifying. If you're 35 with $18,000 saved and you need $875,000 by 65, you're looking at saving about $1,200 per month, or roughly 15–20% of your income if you're making $50–60K per year. That feels impossible. But here's the thing. It's not about finding $1,200 per month out of nowhere. It's about building up to it. Third, increase your savings rate gradually. You don't have to jump from 3% to 20% overnight. That's not sustainable.
Instead, commit to increasing your contribution by 1–2% every year. Most people don't even notice a 1% difference in their paycheck. Do this every year for 5 years, and you've gone from 3% to 8 to 13%. Keep going.
Also, every time you get a raise, increase your contribution by half the raise amount. Got a 4% raise? Increase your 401k contribution by 2%. You still see an increase in your paycheck, but you're also accelerating your savings.
Fourth, minimize fees. If your 401k has high-fee actively managed funds, switch to low-cost index funds. A difference of 1% in annual fees can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career.
Most plans offer index funds with expense ratios of 0.05 to 0.20%. If you're paying more than 0.5%, you're getting ripped off. Fifth, consider a Roth 401k or Roth IRA. If your employer offers a Roth 401k option, consider using it, especially if you're young and in a low tax bracket.
Traditional 401ks give you a tax deduction now, but you pay taxes when you withdraw in retirement. Roth accounts are the opposite. You pay taxes now, but withdrawals are tax-free in retirement.
If you're young and your tax rate is low, paying taxes now and never paying them again is probably the better deal. Plus, tax rates are historically low right now. They're probably going up in the future.
Sixth, don't count on your house. A lot of people plan to fund their retirement by downsizing or taking a reverse mortgage on their home.
This can work, but it's risky. What if the housing market crashes right when you need to sell? What if you can't find a cheaper place to live in the area you want to stay in? What if you need the space for health reasons as you age? Your house should be where you live, not your retirement plan. Seventh, plan for health care. Healthcare is the biggest wild card in retirement. Medicare doesn't cover everything, and what it doesn't cover is expensive. The average couple retiring at 65 will spend about $315,000 on healthcare over their retirement, according to Fidelity. That's not covered by the numbers we've been talking about. That's on top of your living expenses. You need a separate plan for healthcare costs. This might mean a health savings account, HSA, if you have a high deductible health plan, or it might mean setting aside extra money specifically for medical expenses.
Look, individual action can help you personally, but it doesn't fix the systemic problem.
We need policy changes. Automatic enrollment at higher rates. Default people into saving 10–15%, not 3%. Automatic escalation. Automatically increase contribution rates by 1% per year unless people opt out. Better default investment options. Put people into low-cost target date funds by default, not money market accounts earning nothing.
Expanded Social Security. Either shore up Social Security fully or create a supplementary public retirement system that works like the old pensions did.
Require fee transparency.
Make 401k providers disclose all fees in dollar amounts, not percentages that hide the true cost.
But don't wait for policy changes to save you. Politicians have been promising retirement security reforms for decades and delivering nothing. You need to take care of yourself.
So the next time you look at your retirement account and think, I should probably be doing more, you're right. You should.
But don't beat yourself up for being behind. The system was rigged against you from the start. You're trying to accomplish with a 401k what previous generations accomplished with pensions, and you're doing it with lower wages, higher costs, and less job security.
That said, being a victim of a broken system doesn't mean you're helpless. You can still win this game, but you have to play it way smarter than your parents did.
Know your number. Save more than you think you need to. Start now, not later. Minimize fees. Invest appropriately. And don't count on Social Security to save you.
This is the retirement crisis nobody's talking about. But now you know, and knowing is the first step to actually fixing it. And look, if you've checked your retirement account recently and had that sinking feeling of, oh no, I'm way behind, drop a comment below.
Tell me where you're at, what you're struggling with, and what your plan is.
I read every comment. And honestly, just articulating the problem out loud is sometimes the kick you need to start fixing it.
Thanks for watching JoJo Invests.